Welcome to the Plant Structure and Function Part 2 video lesson. In this lesson we'll be discussing stems, parts of stems and their functions, and we'll be taking a look at leaves, structures of leaves and their functions. Okay, so stems are responsible for transport of materials and also responsible for getting and raising leaves up to the light in order to perform photosynthesis. Stems contain bundles of xylem and phloem, which we mentioned earlier, and tree trunks are just thickened, strong stems. Let's take a look at the parts of a tree trunk. We have what is called the heartwood, which is non-functional. The cells here are clogged and were once xylem cells. The sapwood, which was functional xylem. We have the cambium, which is the only actively growing part of the trunk. We have the phloem, which is responsible for food transport. So you remember again, xylem is responsible for transporting water, phloem is responsible for transporting food, in other words, glucose. And then there's the bark on the outside, of course, which is responsible for protection. Let's go ahead and take a look at a stem diagram and label its structures and discuss their functions. We have the xylem, which act as pipes that carry water and minerals up and add as support. We have the phloem, which are pipes that carry food up and down throughout the plant. We have what are called pith cells, which store sugars and proteins. That would be these cells right in here, kind of form a ring. We have the cortex, which is these cells that fill in, and the epidermis, the outer layer here, which protects the stem. Okay, so you can see this is your typical lily, and this is the bulb from which the lily came from in the ground. We have these sprouting up soon, hopefully, and this is just a thin little cross-sectional diagram of this part of the stem right here. Okay, nice diagram showing the different structures and functions within the stem. All right, now let's move to leaves. Leaves, of course, are responsible for producing the majority of photosynthesis and for gas exchange. And the gases exchanged, of course, are carbon dioxide, oxygen, and water vapor. Parts of the leaf that you'll have to know and what their functions are is the cuticle. The cuticle is a waxy layer on the outside of the leaves, and this helps prevent water loss. We have the upper epidermis, which is responsible for protecting the inside part of the leaf. You have your palisade mesophyll layer that performs photosynthesis, and you have your spongy mesophyll layer, which also performs photosynthesis. Your lower epidermis is for protection, but also contains the stomates for gas exchange. And again, the gases exchanged to the stomates would be carbon dioxide, oxygen, and water vapor. And then the veins in the leaves are the structures that contain the xylem to move water and the phloem to move food. Let's take a look at a nice leaf cross-sectional diagram and label its structures. We'll start here with the cuticle, this waxy layer on top, again to prevent water loss. We have the upper epidermis over here, a protective layer. We have the palisade layer made of parenchyma tissue. We have the spongy layer, also called the spongy mesophyll, also made of parenchyma. We have guard cells, which are these semicircular cells that you see here. This is actually part of a stomate that's been cut in half in the diagram. So the other half would come out like this, and the stoma itself is the opening. So the guard cells are what control the stoma opening and closing for gas exchange. This layer on the bottom is the lower epidermis. And then, of course, here's your vein in your leaf. And this is the xylem that's moving the water. And this is the phloem that's moving the food. All right, that'll do it for Plant Structures and Functions Part 2. Let's show the rest of the video that discusses these two structures in detail.